Throughout the day, I could not stop yawning. Yawning, yawning, yawning. I discovered that this is shifting from a state of fight or flight into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is telling our body we're safe. You can let go. No one really talks about what happens after you release tension in your body. And I didn't realize just how much I had been carrying around in my jaw until yesterday. Let's get into it. Welcome to Star Potential, the podcast for curious, soul led humans who know there's more available and want to explore it with depth, joy, and a little play. Here, we talk about reclaiming your authentic voice, shedding old identities, and expanding into who you're becoming without taking yourself too seriously. I'm your host, Julie Jo Hughes. Let's get curious, let it be fun, and see what ignites. Welcome back to Star Potential. I'm your host, Julie Jo. Today, we are going to unpack what my body has apparently been unpacking. So you will relate to this if you have done any kind of massage, chiropractic, any kind of physical work to release tension in your body. Some of us might consider that a luxury thing to do. Some of us consider it a necessity. And some of us don't really know much about it or don't really know the value in these types of work. But what we do know is often focused around all the positive and all the good that's going to come from releasing these areas of physical tension. And that part is kind of common sense. Sometimes you don't realize all the effects it has on you, but we know, right, that hanging on to a certain amount of tension and clenching in any area obviously is going to prevent flow and natural movement, natural levels of oxygenation and blood flow, and all these things. But what we don't often hear about, what we're not as familiar with, is all the ways that one area holding tension can affect all these other areas physically in the body. And yes, we can go deeper to an energetic level. We can go deeper than that to sort of an auric level, the kind of energy that you're giving off to others. But today, we're pretty much going to stay just at the physical level because there's enough to sort through there that was just fascinating to me, and I wanted to share it with you today. Now, in my quest to age gracefully and without toxic chemicals as much as possible, I am always searching for what can I consistently be doing that naturally supports my body's processes. I'm not trying to prevent my body from aging, but I am supporting it so that it feels as healthy as it can for as long as it can. And along with all these other practices I have to keep myself healthy and well, I've been really interested in how can I support my body with gua sha, lymphatic drainage, spot massage, what can I do at home? Um, Obviously, different kinds of skincare, things like that. But in that search, I started getting different kinds of ads on my Instagram feed, of course, and I found this lady nearby who does something called buccal massage. I don't even know if I'm saying that correctly, but I went in yesterday for a buccal massage, Buccal. And the point of this massage and what's unique about the technique is that the massage is done both on the outside and the inside of the mouth in order to reach the masseter, which is your main jaw muscle, and all of these areas where we tend to hold tension in our face. And when those areas are released, then Because everything is so connected, if the muscles in the neck and the jaw are tight, it's going to pull down on the skin and make us look older faster than if everything is still flowing and not clenched there, right? And so I was very interested in this because I have actually suffered a lot of TMJ, which that's the main joint here along the jawline. I have had all kinds of trouble with my TMJ for the past 20 years. It started in college when I was doing a lot of facial exercises and vocal warm ups as an actor. And in my singing classes, but particularly in my acting classes, we were doing lots of big facial movements. And we would do these in the mirror. And I noticed that when I would drop my jaw, it wouldn't drop straight down. It would always drop to like a side angle. And it kind of freaked me out. And my professor recommended that I go to the College of Dentistry, which was right there, part of our campus, and have them take a look. Fast forward, they did all kinds of things. They wanted me to take muscle relaxers, both oral and topical. And after time, I just decided, yeah, even if some of these things brought me relief, I didn't like the idea of doing those things long term. Didn't seem holistic and supportive to my body. And so over time, I just learned to get used to the pain. I've lived with this dull pain and headaches and all kinds of things in my jaw for decades. And I thought this is just something I have to live with. Of course, over time, I have gone in and asked about it again. And always, I don't like the options that are available. So when I found out about this lady that does this massage that's specifically to release tension in the jaw, I was really excited. I know that I carry my a majority of my stress in my jaw, and in my neck and shoulders. When I'm cold, that's the first place I tense up. When I am angry about something or I hold something in that I'm afraid to say, I hold it in my jaw. Maybe some of you can relate to this. So I know that's my area. Well, after a 1 hour session, I started to feel, even though it was a bit painful, she was pretty gentle the first time. And I just felt like slowly, my body was responding very well to the treatment. It wanted to stretch out, it wanted to release. What was especially fascinating to me, though, were all these symptoms that I continued to have throughout the day and afternoon and evening following this massage that I had done in the morning. And so one of the first things was I felt almost like pain. It was like it was reaching out to my arms and like my forearms, especially. When she finished, I felt like, whoa, I need a huge stretch and I need to roll out my wrists. It just felt like all that tension wanted to travel down and out somewhere, like out my fingertips. So that was the first thing. As I said, I didn't expect to feel it in my arms so much. You were working on my face. Throughout the day, I could not stop yawning. Yawning, yawning, yawning. And in my research, I discovered that this is actually a great sign that your nervous system is responding well to the treatment. We yawn because our body has been hanging on to these certain things for so long. And what we're doing is we're shifting from a state of fight or flight into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is telling our body we're safe. You can let go. And so as my muscles began to let go, it triggered me over and over and over to yawn. Like we're talking dozens of times throughout the day, which is not normal for me. I'm naturally a very energetic person. And so I just felt extremely tired, depleted. And of course, I know as a singer that I need to replenish, hydrate. So I was drinking all kinds of water throughout the day, but I still just felt so down and low. And I discovered that that was my body releasing and saying, "You're safe now." Isn't that wild? Now, here comes the wildest part of all. That night, as it neared evening time, I had nourished my body really well that whole day. I ate foods that I knew are really supportive and good for me and don't cause me any kind of digestive upset, which I'm pretty tuned in and dialed in these days after my work with Sadie Kaufman, which, of course, we've done a couple of episodes together. You can go back and reference those. But I'm pretty dialed into what my body likes and what it doesn't really prefer. And I was so gassy. Like all afternoon and evening, I felt a little bloated and I just had that like really full of air feeling where you're like, oh, this might slip out at some point. Again, not normal for me. Normally, the only time I have that is when I've eaten things that I know don't necessarily agree with my system. And so this was wild for me. I was like, where is this coming from? So, of course, I had to start researching that as well and discovered, yep, wouldn't you know? But when the body starts releasing and the parasympathetic nervous system comes back online and is more in charge, then things you've been hanging on to elsewhere, basically, are now given the signal it's okay to let go. And boy, did this explain a lot. I started connecting the dots when other times when my body has not wanted to let go of certain things. And it was like, oh, wow. When I am hanging on to things in my jaw, it's also hanging on to things in my digestive tract. It's saying, hold on, it might not be safe here. But when this becomes on a chronic level, it's holding on to things for who knows how long. So when the tension was released in my jaw, suddenly I had all this gas all night long because apparently everything was releasing and letting go a little bit. Maybe TMI, but it's too fascinating not to share. So it just got me thinking, when we are hanging on to things at some level mentally, how much are we actually hanging on to physically? And so I would love to hear, what else are you, where is an area of your body where you are holding things, you are clinging to things, you are not letting something go. And because of that, it's potentially affecting other systems in your body. Now, the next thing that was fascinating is that today I woke up with so much energy and I felt compelled to declutter some stuff. I felt compelled to wash and sanitize my makeup brushes. I felt compelled to clear my morning and clear my appointments and my obligations so that I could let this momentum that I felt was rolling, the ball that was already rolling down, I felt like I needed to clear the things that might stand in its path, that might give it friction, that might slow that momentum down. Because when energy starts rolling in me, I recognize, ooh, this is creative energy. This is when, if I get out of my own way, that stuff comes up and stuff comes through for me. And so not only did I release the tension in my jaw that led to, well, all these other things that happened in my body, but now the aftermath, psychologically, energetically, is that today I didn't question it. I just felt a strong impulse. You need to clean out those makeup brushes. You need to throw out the toiletries you're not using anymore. We need to clear space. And I have tracked my own patterns for long enough now that I know my patterns. I know that lately I've been feeling a bit confused. I've been a little bit quiet. I've been a little bit retreated because I have some ideas. I didn't quite have them sussed out in my mind of how I want to bring them to life. And because I'm trying to figure it out in my head, I got a little bit bogged down energetically. I just felt a little slow, I had to wind down into a lower gear. But today, I felt that the higher gear was already churning. And I know my pattern enough to know that whenever something new is about to come through me, or I'm about to have a big breakthrough, or I have some idea that I want to take action on, I get this sort of nesting urge. So, anyone who's been pregnant will know that this happens like a month or so before your new baby arrives. Mothers have this instinct to nest. And of course, animals in nature do this as well. The birds, cats, all kinds of mothers in nature will have this nesting instinct. And we as humans have it as well. We need to prepare the space for the new baby. And that's how I woke up feeling this morning. I needed to clear the space. And every time I seem to have this pattern, I know that I'm on the trajectory to launching or birthing something new. And that's why I'm having this intuitive impulse to clear the space. So I didn't question it. I just aligned my morning so that I could follow that impulse. And I cleaned out the makeup brushes. I dumped out a bunch of toiletries that have been in there for a couple years and I think they're expired now. And even though I paid a lot of money for them, I'm not going to use them. So why are they taking up space in my cabinet? I whittled it down to stuff I actually use right now, and everything else went. When I get in this kind of a mood, my mantra is if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. And I do this in my closet. So that spilled out as soon as I finished all the toiletries. I started throwing out stuff from underneath the kitchen sink. When I went to pick out my clothes after my shower, pulled out 3 shirts that I was like, why am I hanging on to these? I don't even wear these anymore. And those went to donations as well. So you see, when we release the unnecessary tension or something we've been clinging to in one part of our body physically, not only does it have a physical ripple effect throughout the rest of the systems of the body, but it also has a ripple effect on you energetically, spiritually, creatively. And if you can stick with the process, then you allow the natural flow to come through. So, if you get stuck on the symptoms of the physical, that can block you from actually letting the whole process take place. You see, if I would have freaked out over the fact that I felt really tired, freaked out over the fact that I was super gassy, and let's say I started taking a bunch of antacids to like kill that gas. Maybe I was grouchy with my whole family and I said, I just need to go to sleep. Everybody leave me alone. I don't know what I'm going through. If I don't allow those, the discomfort of some of that physical stuff to pass, then you don't get on to the next part, which is like such an exciting part of the cycle where, woo, we have this release of energy now because we let go of this stuff that's been holding us back. And now we can spring forward. And by the same token, if I want to resist that urge, that momentum to spring forward, I'm going to shoot myself in the foot. All of that energy that I just released, if I spend my time doing stuff that I always do just because I always do it. And I needed to get this done today. So I decided to work on that. If I don't follow that impulse to clear out my stuff today, to throw those things out of my closet, to clear my schedule a little bit, then the creative thing that wants to be born and come through, it doesn't actually have the room that it was trying to nudge you to create so that it could come through. Does that make sense? So, when you notice, when we do a body scan of some sort and we notice that there's tension somewhere, because now that I know the difference, now sometimes we don't realize we're holding tension because we don't know what it feels like to not have tension there, right? And so my face feels different the last couple days because it's been a really long time since I didn't have so much tension in that area. So now I notice that when I get a little cold, I start to tense my jaw. And now I notice that and I go, let me see if I can consciously separate my teeth, release those muscles. Let me see if I can keep them relaxed. Now that it's in my awareness, now I have more awareness going forward and I can prevent some of that tension from coming back because now I have a difference to compare to. And so when you've done some sort of body scan and noticed where you have some tension, and then you've released it so that now you can feel the difference. Or maybe you don't know where the tension is and you just go to a masseuse and you say, let's get a full body massage. I'm going to treat myself with this. And afterwards you go, oh, wow, I didn't realize I was holding so much tension there. Sometimes your massage therapist will tell you, like, wow, you really have a lot of tension in your calves or wherever it might be. And if you weren't aware of that, now you know. So now going forward, you pay attention to what am I doing that's like, what are the things that are putting that stress there? Sometimes it's obvious, maybe from your job that you do or something that you do repeatedly day after day that using those muscles, obviously there's going to be tension there. And so it's not that we can always just stop the thing that's putting tension there, but the more aware we are of it, we can naturally start shaping and changing our actions so that when you have that awareness, you naturally don't let it just accumulate there like you did before. Or when it does start to accumulate, you now have the awareness to know how to release it again. When you go through this process of being aware of the tension, consciously letting it go, and then noticing when it comes back, then you'll also now have the awareness to notice when it shifts something. And whether that shift is pleasant or unpleasant, I hope that you have the awareness to allow and accept what is as being that step in the cycle. Because there are some steps that are pleasant and there are some other steps that are unpleasant. But by allowing the full cycle, you allow these things to run their course. And usually, somewhere in the cycle is a little payoff for that. So, if you've ever felt weird after doing something that was supposed to help you, don't rush to shut it down. Something might actually be moving. And honestly, this made me realize how much of our expression isn't just mental, it's physical. One of the first things I did when I woke up the next day was I felt the urge to sing Sia's Chandelier. That is a big old song. I'm not going to sing it right now because it requires full breath support. But I woke up and I was like, I just want to sing that. That was a direct result of feeling more free physically. Had a direct implication to my voice, my core expression. And another little fun physical expression was when I got out of the shower and I dried my hair, I thought, I'm going to part my hair like this, and I'm going to wear this little clip to train my hair to go like this. And the jury's still out on whether this part is going to stay or go, whether or not I look like an 8-year-old. But nevertheless, it did shift my physical expression. Physical, physical. I wanna get physical. Let's get into physical. Yeah. Let me hear your body talk. Your body talk. We're holding it somewhere. So, where are you holding your expression? Until next time, Starlight, take care of yourself. Keep expanding. And I'll see you next week. If something in this episode lit you up or sparked a little curiosity, you might be in the middle of a soul shift of your own. I created a free quiz called Are You in a Soul Shift to help you explore where you are and what's opening next. Just go to juliejohughes.com/quiz or find the link in the show notes. And if you're enjoying the show, would you please leave a quick rating or review? It helps create a ripple to reach other curious souls. Until next time, stay curious and let yourself play.